Shed alive, guys. Shed alive.
What Spritzy does is they have a network of places that they use your video as an edit. They put your
Good night, everyone.
So you're talking about.
Thank you.
within 2 weeks time, we went from having.
Shed alive, guys. Shed alive. I know it's early, but shed alive. And also on YouTube this evening. So you can make sure that you're on either of the networks. And you should be able to see this show tonight, this live. Shirley Morris, thank you. Welcome, and shed alive. Share the live, let everybody know that TP is on. We're presenting Point Blank live from New York this evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening to everyone. Good evening to everyone. Soon we will start, but we'll have one more song and we will get... 1 second. Okay, we'll get it together. This evening we're presenting a special live of Point Blank from New York. I have a bit of a migraine like I indicated earlier, but I'm determined to go through with this show tonight, with this live tonight. And I also want to make it very clear to everyone that I am not having this live in my capacity as chairman of the United Workers' Party. I chose not to. And the reason why I chose not to is because I want my message this evening to resonate not just only with supporters of the United Workers' Party, but also with supporters of the Labour Party and fellow St. Lucians, independents, and persons who are really, really tired of the crime situation in our country. This evening, it is a momentous evening in the sense that we have to decide once and for all whether we are going the direction of peace in our country, or whether our country will be torn apart, which is very possible if we do nothing about it. You know, folks, we are the place. We are the place in our country when any day now we can expect our government to lose its ability to govern our country. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm UWP. And I'm not saying this because I want to be critical of the government. I am saying this because the evidence is staring right in our face. When crime, and at a time when crime is at its highest peak in St. Lucia, and we are on the brink, if we're not careful, of our peaceful nation called St. Lucia transforming or becoming a failed state. And there are those among us who know that it is true and they understand what is happening. But because of their political allegiances and some with personal interests to protect, they will continue to pretend as if they see no evil, hear no evil. And so, as the voice of our government become increasingly absent from the conversation of crime, families throughout the length and breadth of our country are left to wonder who is in charge of St. Lucia. And this is where the issue lies right now. Because nobody knows who's in charge of St. Lucia at this time. You have a government that has simply gone to bed on crime. You have a government when 4 or 5 citizens of this country gets murdered for a weekend, there is no issue of sympathy. There is no word coming out of this government. So you wonder if we're on our own in St. Lucia? Or do we have a government in charge? And so, this evening, given the fact that it seems that our government have gone to bed on crime, I want to examine something here, which is the family. The family. What makes St. Lucia tick? What makes St. Lucia move? And this is nothing else but the family. And let us first examine the role of parents in our society. Because we cannot talk about crime, we cannot cast blame all over the place and omit the responsibility of parents in the situation that we're in right now. And so we will play play a clip, We will play a clip right now, which is basically on the role of the parents. So let's go. One moment, we're getting the clip for you. We discussed the role of the parents, our parents here in St. Lucia, families. What is the role of the parent?
In today's world. See, parenthood is a very funny thing. You're trying to do something that nobody has ever known how to do it well. Yes? Nobody has ever known what is the best way to parent their children. Even if you have 12 children, you're still learning. You may raise the 11 properly, the 12th one can give you works, no? So, but you want to do your best. What's the best thing you can do? One foremost thing I would say is, first thing is to work upon yourself a little bit. Spend sufficient time with yourself. Look at yourself carefully. How you are, how you sit, how you stand, how you speak, what you do, what you don't do. I think you must look at yourself very carefully because the children are picking up everything rapidly and they'll exaggerate everything that you're doing. So, one foremost thing is at least make yourself in such a way that you would like to be. Somebody may not approve, it doesn't matter. At least you made yourself in such a way that you like the way you are. At least that much you must do. Maybe you cannot raise to somebody else's standards. We don't know what kind of standards they set for you. But at least you must become the way you like it, the way you are. That is a must. But that will only create the necessary ambience. It still doesn't make you necessarily a good parent, but it creates the necessary ambience. But creating the necessary ambience is a large part of parenthood. Large part. If you create the right kind of atmosphere, of a certain sense of joy and love and care and discipline for yourself and your home atmosphere, generally they grow. Of course you want to provide opportunities for them. Each one of us can provide opportunities only to the extent it's available to us, isn't it? Yes? You cannot provide an opportunity for which you don't have access. You will always do according to your limitations. I'm sure in that area you'll do your best, but the important thing is what kind of human beings or brats you raise. For that, what kind of human being are you is an extremely important part of raising children. So, if your wife became pregnant, it's time for transformation for you. Because now another life is coming in. You yourself are the way you don't like yourself to be. Definitely, one more need not go that way, isn't it? So, becoming conscious of what we are doing is extremely important. What should we teach? What we should do? I think one important thing that you should teach your children is that they learn to question everything, but not with suspicion, with a genuine wanting to know. Questioning can become a very sick thing or a very healthy process. People question because they already suspect everything is evil. This is a sickness. But the basic purpose of a question is an instrument which helps you to dig a little deeper than where you are, isn't it so? Yes? Question is essentially an instrument with which you can dig a little deeper. That's the purpose of a question. If you just bring this into your child's mind, that a child can question anything, including you, the way you are, if you allow that, in a healthy way, not in a sick way, questioning things because you think something is wrong with everybody. If you bring this, the child is constantly exercising his intelligence. This will not ensure whether he's going to become a doctor, engineer, this, that, but one thing is clear, his intelligence is active. If you anyway put him through the necessary physical paces to give him a healthy body and an active intelligence, and of course some level of education according to what you can afford, and you bring him up without any sense of identity. Without any sense of identity, if you can bring him up, if you do not entangle his intelligence by being identified to this or that he's willing and open to everything. If you bring him up this way, the best possible that he can make out of his life, he will do. He may not become like somebody else, but he will grow to his maximum potential. Of course it depends on along the way who he meets, what happens, what situations he gets into, whether he kind of comes into a spiritual space or he goes into a war zone, where he ends up, who knows? Those things you cannot control, isn't it? But if you create an atmosphere of love, meditativeness, openness, when you're not identified with anything, naturally there is no sense of prejudice. If you bring up a child free of prejudice, in a loving, very open atmosphere, generally they do well, but there is no guarantee. Because there are other influences in the society. You don't know into whose hands they'll fall tomorrow morning. Yes? You may be doing your best. Tomorrow morning, into whose hands your child will fall. There is no insurance or guarantee. That's a risk that you're taking, always. But the only thing is, did you do your best or not? That's all there is to life.
Okay, folks, thank you. So we just got a bit of lecture in terms of the role of the parent. And it says that before you start being a parent, you should start looking at yourself. You should start thinking, am I up to it in terms of being a parent? And when my children look at me, what do they see? Do they see a role model? Do they see an example of someone they should follow? This is the question for us, my dear citizens of St. Lucia. Because since this government have gone to bed on crime, it's now left to the families to be able to take on this battle, to take on this issue, and to help bring peace in our country. So often, we have children, and some of us have no idea what they are up to. We have no idea. They're just our children. They're basically out there on their own. No guidance. But I say to you this evening, families throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia, that the time has come when you must have an early conversation with your kids in terms of what you expect of them. Listen to what I said. You need to have an early conversation with your kids in terms of what you expect from them. Get to know from very early who are their friends. Get to know from very early with who they line with. Because this can tell you a lot from very early in terms of the external influences on your children, which is something a lot of us don't think of. You know, for many years, we had the Girl Scout, the Boy Scout, we had brownies. We got our children involved in those things. And guess what? They learn personal responsibility. But I'm saying to you, we may not have the Girl Guides. We may not have the brownies again. We may not have the Scouts in existence in our country. But the time has come to get your children from a very early age involved in the church and in community-oriented programs which will teach them how to volunteer and to give back to the community. You also have to learn to create a stable environment for your kids at home so that when they get older, they will want to emulate the stability in which they were raised. And also, most of all, teach them to take personal responsibility for their actions. Because you cannot have kids and always tell them they are right. Always tell them you are right. Always say to them, you kick somebody, you are right. You spit on somebody, you are right. Pa touche ishmwen. Pa fanye pi ishmwen. That's what we say to people when they try to correct our children outside of the home. But if you raise them to not take personal responsibility, the fact remains that since they're not taking personal responsibility for anything, when they grow up and to become teenagers and men and women, they will never take responsibility for anything. And you know, it is important that we teach our children how to be respectful and tolerant of others. This is some of the things that we have to do to be able to bring up model citizens here in this country. Persons who will not see crime as a way out because of the training they've constantly got in the house, in the home. And if they're not tolerant of others, and if they're not respectful of the views of others, chances are they will always find themselves in problems because your pani wespe pu piesmun. They have no tolerance for anything and anyone. And if you step on their toes in a crowd, they're ready to slap, they're ready to fight, they're ready to stab. These are the kids that we are raising in our country because the home is void of any rules, any discipline, any love. And this is what we've become as a nation. You know, when your children is at home with you, learn to attach yourself to honest and law-abiding friends. I repeat, learn to attach yourself to honest and law-abiding friends so that your kids may grow up having good role models. Persons who do not want to do bobble, persons who do not wish to always be involved in a fight, persons who can say when they're wrong, I am sorry. But if you attach yourself to persons who love to lie, they're dishonest, they have no conduit for themselves, this is what your children are seeing. This is what your children are emulating. And you know, you want to give your kids good role model. Therefore, you have to learn who your kids are going to be looking up to. And from very early, it is important that we instruct them what they need to do, what you expect of your children, because they are your kids. You cannot let them roam the streets of our country freely, with no manners, no respect, no nothing for no one. And when they end up doing bad things, then suddenly you say, Teta Bochamai was a good kid. But if they were good kids, why do they end up in these kinds of issues that they end up in a modern day St. Lucia, where you have just persons being killed, stabbed, kicked, stoned, and nobody thinks a thing of it because our government have gone to bed. But you also have the issue of the role of the government. What is the role of the government apart from families? What is the role of the government, which is the external aspects of raising children? And you can't have a government which basically speaks in platitudes about crime and boasts about giving motorcycles to police while ignoring the root problem of crime in this country. You hear me? You can't have a government that speaks in platitudes about crime and boast about giving the police motorcycles while ignoring the root problems of crime. This is what's dangerous, my friend. But you know, what we need is a government that talks about hope, and not just talk about hope, but give young people something to look forward to in this country. And what do you do to arrest the attention of a restless and youthful nation? What is this government doing to arrest the restlessness of a youthful nation? Not much. And so, as we go through the cycles of children raising up, they become teenagers. There is nothing. And you ask yourself, how do we define the St. Lucian dream? What is the St. Lucian dream? St. Lucian dream. The St. Lucian dream right now is for quick buck. Join a gang. Shoot, get killed. This is the St. Lucian dream that we have to deal with right now. But where is the hope for those young people, even those who are gangbangers? Where is the hope for them? You know, and what do? You continually engage them in party and drinking rum, so that they will completely forget. They will completely forget the realities around them. So we came out of jazz, we go into carnival. When carnival finish, is the tea cabaret, go and drink more rum. Then you have Journée Creole come, drink more rum. And Christmas come, drink more rum. And this is what we are dealing with in our country. And instead of providing opportunities to help young people elevate themselves out of a life of crime, out of abject poverty, what do? We keep them partying 24 hours a day, entire week, entire month, and an entire year. You party. That's all we do. Because our government have not provided the basis and the opportunities for us to be able, for young people in this country, to be able to elevate themselves. I know many people want to just blame the youth. Oh, they're terrible. Oh, they're not good. But in all they're not good, oh, they're terrible. How about the family who forsake them, did not give them the correct training? How about the government that provided nothing for them when they left secondary school, except to be out on the streets and in the byways of this country with nothing to do? And so if you have nothing to do, the best thing you can do is to join a gang, is to be out there on the streets, because you have to fend for yourself as a young person, because your government did not offer you the opportunity for upward mobility. So a lot of the blame goes around. It's the families that are having children and not taking responsibility for their care and in terms of how they grow up as young people. Then you have the government, who basically claim to have placed people first, but instead they have placed themselves first. And by placing themselves first, what they have done in essence is to basically enrich themselves. And when those murders are happening in our country every day, every week, they remain silent on it because they do not want people to observe the reality of what is happening in our country. And I remember the Prime Minister saying that, oh, crime is localized. But we all know that's not true. Crime in St. Lucia is not localized. It's everywhere. Tupa, say quim. People don't choose to kill somebody in one part. They kill in all parts. And yet still, this does not appeal to the conscience of this government. This does not appeal to the conscience of the Prime Minister, who is also the Minister of National Security. Imagine you have a guy who is Minister of National Security. He says nothing. Mayors throughout the United States, in England, wherever, leaders, when things like that happen, they always come out to extend their condolences to the families. Not this man who is your Prime Minister. He doesn't care. This doesn't matter to him. This week, you had a customs officer who got shot. He came out for a little bit, and then he issues a statement on Facebook. And you ask yourself, why not address the nation? Why not speak to the issue of crime? Are we moving forward or are we moving backwards? Are you up to the job, not only as Minister of National Security, but are you up to the job as Prime Minister of this country? It's a question that is probably floating in the minds of loads of St. Lucians. I met a young lady who had a conversation with me, and we were talking about her frustration in not being able to find a job. And so for so long, she's already out of school. And she said to me, Mr. Prudent, I don't even know if I have a Prime Minister. I said to her, why would you say so? You know you have a Prime Minister. She said to me, no, he's absent. He's absent. And so you mean to tell me the only time you hear the voice of your Prime Minister is when he's in Parliament and all of them casting insults at the political leader of the UWP? That's the only time that they're relevant? And if they can waste so much energy in Parliament to do those things, you have to also ask yourself, what will it take for when someone is dead in this country, for at least a government minister, if not the Minister of National Security and the Prime Minister, to simply say to the parents a few comforting words on the passing of the children? Folks, we are going down. And if we're not careful, we are going down. And you know, when you have all these young people don't know what to do, the easiest thing for them is to own a gun. The easiest thing for them is to involve in activities which they would not have engaged in had they gotten the right family conduct and had they have a government that could show responsibility by creating the environment for jobs here in this country. It is no doubt that the political leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, the Prime Minister of this country, the Minister of National Security, he's gone to bed. He's checked out. He's checked out. He's no longer around. He doesn't want to be around. It's only when you hear his voice on all kinds of issues. But when it comes to crime, he is haywire. And then he tells us that his father is or was the police, but not him. Then why on earth did you accept the position of National Security Minister if you knew that you could not fulfill this portfolio? Why in the world would you do that to a nation you know that is struggling from violent crime, and you just don't have what it takes to be able to make people safe in this country? You know, so since we're out to sea, since we don't know what to expect from our Prime Minister and our government, it is imperative at this juncture to open the lines of communications. Open the lines of communications and stop hiding behind your positions in government. Open the lines of communications. Go to your communities and in the ghettos and in the streets of our country and in the homes in your district and start having conversation with families. Start having conversations with the young people so you will better understand their frustration. And don't stay in your perch, your beautiful offices, your ties, power put tufeu, strangle you. And you don't even have a clue what those young people are going through and what drives them into criminality, because you don't care. You just don't care. So on a weekend, when you visit your districts, instead of going out to meet with those young people, you rather stay in a rum shop and drink a few beers. You rather stay with your friends and socialize, whilst a vast number of young people are left to fend for themselves, not knowing what tomorrow will bring in a country which does not have anything or definition of a St. Lucian dream. This is the dire situation here and is going on in this country right now. And you know, because you negate to talk and have conversations with these young people, they're not going to approach you. They will never approach you because they've seen your uncaring behavior towards them. And all you needed from them was their votes. All you needed from them was their tiqua. But once you got their tiqua, you didn't give a damn about them, a damn about what happened to them. They're left to rot out there in your constituencies because there is nothing, absolutely nothing for them. No hope. No hope. There's hope for you. There's hope for all of you. But there's no hope for the youngster, for the young man, for the young woman out there who've been out of school for ages and cannot find employment in their own country. Struggling. Struggling. And why don't you decide to have a direct conversation with these young people and to speak to them honestly instead of all the fluff, the lies, the jumbories you give them for hope, and then your 5-year expires, election time comes again, and suddenly they're of relevance to you. They're of relevance to you because you want to vote, you want to remain in power, which is what is happening. So the role of government in this country basically have become a political role rather than an administrative role. There is a dichotomy between government and politics. Politics is the avenue by which political parties compete for power. However, once the competition is over and the victor have won, you have to be able to make that transition from politics into administration. But with this government, the politics never ends. It never ends. So they are consumed with politics, 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 as opposed to the crime situation in our country. So families are failing, schools are failing, the society is failing, the country is failing, and the government is failing. An F mark for everything, everybody, an F mark. Nobody passes because we've just accepted this norm of crime and criminality in our country. We're not even moved by a dead body anymore. We're not moved by anything because it's a norm that we have just accepted here in our country. You know, I believe personally that we did have an opportunity years ago when crime started to fester throughout the length and breadth of this country. But no, we didn't take it. And for years, when the violence began to manifest itself in our communities and in our country, I say we had an opportunity as a nation to have arrested crime right there and to have been able to deal with the scourges of crime and criminality in all of our communities. But instead, we got ourselves involved in the politics of crime as opposed to finding solutions to the problem, and as opposed to zoning in on the problems, the issue or the root issue, which is a lack of opportunity for young people in this country. Instead, we got ourselves involved in the politics of crime. And so, back then, they were floating the idea of a national consultation on crime. But instead, if one party says national consultation on crime, the other one come and say symposium on crime, just to confuse people. You can call it all the name you wanted to, symposium. You could have called it national consultation. Crime is crime, and it needed to have been attended to back then. But we didn't. And the Labour Party knows that from 1979, they're the ones who introduced guns here on our streets. They are the ones who armed young people with guns to be able to remove John Compton from office. They're part of the proliferation of guns here in this country. And there is no doubt about it that they are. And so, instead of having a national consultation on crime, where you bring the entire country together to vent their frustration and to seek avenues to address or redress the situation, we became involved in the politics of crime. Symposium. No, I don't want symposium because the other party is saying symposium. I want national consultation on crime. And everything went haywire. We lost control of an opportunity to have been able to solve the problems here in this country that years later have come back to roost. And so you have a symposium with 2-3 people, a few people, but it does not speak to the wider community. It never spoke to the wider community. And then we had the Prime Minister who went to Trinidad to a symposium. Up to now, he cannot tell us what he learned from that symposium on crime in Trinidad. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what he learned. He's not sharing with anybody. We have no idea what he learned. You know? And so we continue with all this BS when a genuine effort could have ensued to bring our nation together around all political divide, across UWP, across SLP, and we attack this crime situation as one. And so we missed that opportunity, you know. But you know, we have a final opportunity. We have a final opportunity as a nation to do what's right. I know the government don't want to take advice from us. They don't want to take advice from citizens. They don't want to take advice from Shasne. They want advice from nobody. Upani pièce plan pour ko, mais one man upavle advice from pièce moun. You want no advice from nobody on crime, on the country, on job creation. You want no help. But repeatedly, you're proving to us that you've lost your way. And so this evening, I want to say something, that I am proposing a National Reconciliation Day of the St. Lucian family. A National Reconciliation Day of the St. Lucian family. Meaning that if the government is willing to join forces, maybe with families and with the opposition in this country, that we all can gather as St. Lucians at the Darren Sammy Cricket Field Stadium and bring families from all over this country to finally have their day to talk about the crime situation in the country. It may be an embarrassing moment for government ministers. It may be an embarrassing moment for the Prime Minister. But if we are going to reconcile families here in this country, and if we have a chance to rescue this country, your pride cannot get into the way of what is right for St. Lucia. And so call those of us who are concerned about crime, and let us start talking and let us start putting together this National Reconciliation Day of the St. Lucian family by bringing families together. Maybe we cannot save the generation that is already involved in it, but perhaps we can save future generations of St. Lucians by going back to the board, and being able to do what is right. What is right for our country? That's all I'm asking. What is right? And to be able to start educating those youngsters from early so that we may have hope here in this country, because we will be producing citizens that are not prone to criminal activities, but citizens who want to take personal responsibility for themselves. Are you hearing me, Mr. National Security Minister? Are you hearing me, Virginia Poyot? Are you hearing me, Kenny Anthony? Are you hearing me, Ernest Hilaire? Are you hearing me, Kenson Kazame? Are you listening, guys? Emma Hippolyte, are you listening? Call us. You've lost your way. Call us. Let us join forces. Let's bring those same youths who are committing the crime together. Allow them to speak. Allow them that opportunity to express themselves so that we can better understand why they're into these things and what is it we can do as a government, as a people, as a nation to ask them to finally lay down their weapons and to give peace a chance. Tonight, you are going back to your homes. You are going back to your families. And we must ask ourselves, don't just think of our families, but also think of those young people out there. No hope, no home training, no hope from our government. So on both ends, they've lost. On both ends, they've been disadvantaged because they didn't have good training, a lot of them. And yet still, they didn't have a government that provided HOPE, hope, so that they can elevate themselves from poverty. Folks, it's real. What is happening here in this country is real. And I'm saying tonight, if this government is serious, this evening, if this government is serious, they will take my proposal for a National Reconciliation Day of the St. Lucian family, allowing everybody to congregate in the Darren Sammy Stadium and let them vent. Let them vent their frustration, years of frustration. Let them vent, but also give them a path whereby together as a nation, UWPs, SLPs, PPP, no PP, together we can finally put together a nail in the coffin of crime here in this country. We have that opportunity. But you know, the young people will not lay down their arms. Those who are involved in this will not lay their arms if they realize it's all about shit, nonsense, rubbish, politics, and there's no sincerity to it. They won't lay their arms if they lay their arms down and then they cannot provide bread on the tables of their families. And all of these things must be taken into consideration. So whereas we appalled by the level of criminality in this country, the only way to stop it is to give a voice to those young people so we better understand what triggers them to behave this way. And families, tonight, when you leave this life, go home. If you're watching me from your home, well, wait until the live is over. If you're walking home right now and you're watching this live, go talk to your children. Go talk and have a conversation with them. It's important. Your children could be in the house, but you don't know what they're into. They could be doing many things, but you don't know. So here's your opportunity. Here's your moment to be able to do something about it. And the proposal for a National Reconciliation Day for the St. Lucian family, it's about family. Because the government has gone to bed. So it's up to families right now to help drive this movement for change. This movement against crime. And this movement for peace. Peace in our country. Peace in every single district there is in this country. We need that. We need that. But we cannot achieve those things if we do not want to take the bitter pill. And the bitter pill is to having conversations with those who matter in this thing, so that you better understand where it's coming from. Folks, I leave you with this message. A change is going to come, and a change must come. And if as families and as St. Lucians we've lost hope, now is an opportune moment to have some hope. Because at least you're starting to think as families. As now you're starting to think as families that it's not just the government. If the government have gone to bed, what do? I have to protect my kids. And protect my kids does not necessarily mean you have to go and look for a gun. It just means that you are speaking in the airs. You are talking to them directly about this issue, about your fears as parents for their own lives and the lives of others. You are talking to them directly. We have a moment and we have this opportunity. And maybe when we have had this National Reconciliation Day of the St. Lucian family, where the government has gotten persons to tell them directly how they feel, maybe then we will be on our road to fixing our country again. And I say to you, perhaps then we can ask young people to turn in their weapons. You give them a period to turn in their weapons. And then, if they do not turn their weapons after a certain period, then you go through the legislative period, like what was done in Serbia, which is, you did not turn it within a certain period, then there are consequences for that. And so, folks, let's hope for a better St. Lucia. Let's hope for a better tomorrow, not for us, but for the young people of our country. I thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do appreciate those of you who took the time to listen to this live, and I want to say good night to everyone.